remember if I said the side or the forearm, but there was a portion of his arm that touched my breast.
Does that mean you're not even sure which part of the arm touched your breast?
My belief is it was the forearm and the arm, but sometimes I call the arm from the shoulder down to the wrist.
Maybe you can demonstrate to the jurors just where, on using your arm, pretending for just a minute it was his arm, what part of his arm touched you?
It was like a V, as far as I can remember, as he was dropping it down.
Okay.
That's what led me to the conclusion that the hand might go next.
Okay. And that's the only touching that you're talking about that took place as far as on your chest area?
Yes.
And I think you said earlier this morning that he never, with his hand, either open or closed, touched your breast.
Not with an open or closed hand, no, he did not.
Now, when you met with Dr. Adario, when he was examining you as part of this independent medical examination, did you tell him that when you first met Mr. Filner and you were talking to him and then he had both your hands, you know what I'm talking about?
When he grasped my hands and wrist, yes.
Did you tell him you could not recall if he released your hands or whether you pulled away?
I don't recall exactly what I said on that part. I'm sorry.
Oh. You, as you sit here today, uncertain whether he just released your hands or whether you pulled away?
I believe I pulled away, but I'm not 100% certain.
All right. One of the things you told Dr. Adario, and I think it's been mentioned already through your counsel's examination, that you were thinking to yourself during this encounter with Mr. Filner there at the park that he might suffer from some sort of mental illness. Is that correct?
I know I thought that. I'm not positive I relayed that to him, but that was the only rational thing I could think for the way he was acting, which was so irrational.
And did you also mention to Dr. Adario that one other thought you had at some point was that maybe Mr. Filner was senile?
Senile? I can't remember for certain. I have thought of senility. I'm just guessing. I'm trying to justify in my mind what could have possibly made him do that, just to make it easier for me to understand.
Fair enough. We'll ask Dr. Adario what you told him, but I just wanted to see
Thank you.
if you could confirm whether you said that to him. If you just don't remember.
I don't remember. I didn't hear or see any transcript from that tape recording, and I just don't remember, and I'm sorry.
Did you, in describing the incident to Dr. Adario, did you mention that Ms. Charette, when the incident was occurring at some point, right after Mr. Filner said, "Isn't she great, isn't she great," that she laughed?
She had nervous laughter.
So my question is, did you tell Dr. Adario that she laughed?
I don't remember if I told him that she laughed.
Did you tell Dr. Adario that her response to Mr. Filner's question was, yeah, she is?
I don't remember if I told Dr. Adario that.
Do you remember telling Dr. Dario that Mr. Filner made the statement, and I think you've also said this today, well, I'm going to be mentoring her, I'm going to make her employee of the day. What do you guys think about that?
He said something like, I'm going to be making her, I'm going to be mentoring her, I'm going to be making her employee of the day. What do you think? Something along those lines.
And you remember telling Dr. Dario that Ms. Tourette's response, you referred to her as Lori, was, that sounds good.
I'm just not remembering the interview. I don't recall for certain.
Fair enough, we'll ask him again. During this discussion you had with Dr. Dario, did he inquire of you about whether you and Mr. Denary had joked about what had happened?
I'm not remembering our conversation. I'm so sorry. I don't remember.
Is it possible you did tell him that there was this joke about you going to your car and Bob wouldn't like that? You did tell him that was a joke?
Objection calls for speculation.
Stand on other ground. Let's try it again. Charlie, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Did you tell Dr. Dario that the following? If you make the following statement. Well, we were trying to joke on that email you sent about he should walk. They made at work a deal about when it was dark at 5. Wanted someone to walk with the females, I guess, where office work because there had been some problems. So I made that joke.
I don't remember saying that to him, but I know I had an email similar to that.
The one we talked about.
The one we talked about.
And you do acknowledge that was a joke at the time.
It was a joke in order to deal with the anxiety.
Wasn't there another joke that you made with Mr. Denary where you were joking about his fingers were like ice sticks?
I remember that, yes.
And they were so cold.
Yes.
And you told Dr. Dario, if you recall, let me ask you about that joke specifically.
I his fingers being cold like I did this morning. I don't know if I told him the joke about the joke to Mr. Denary. I don't remember talking about Mr. Denary, but I've met with him several times, and as I recall, the interview was long. I just don't recall. I want to be exact and truthful. I did say his fingers were cold, and I mentioned that earlier.
And was that a joke when you were talking to Mr. Denary?
That wasn't necessarily a joke. I just called them ice sticks.
Did you say, and I think I might have joked about his fingers once because of them ice sticks. They were so cold.
I don't remember if I said that to him, no.
Who is Susan Lowry Mendoza?
She's a district manager for Developed Regional Parks Division, like I am, but she oversees Balboa Park.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness just to swap out a winder?
You are free to approach at any time to assist witnesses in your planning.
Thank you. Mackenzie, I'm opening the binder exhibit 111, which has not been received as evidence. Is that an email between you and this individual, Susan Lowry Mendoza?
Yes.
And will the defendant's offer that in evidence, Your Honor?
Any objection?
No objection.
It is received.
And Ms. Martin, if you could publish that, please, for the benefit of the jurors. And we'll start at the bottom of the email chain. And that's an email of April 22nd, 2013 from San Diego Internal Communications. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And it was regarding an event, Celebrate the Earth event. Do you see that in the
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I do.
and do you see where the who was going to be speaking there at the event?
Yes, I do.
Who was that?
Mr. Mayor Filner at the time.
So if we could just go one chain up here. So Miss Susan Lowry Mendoza, 4 minutes later, 10:11 a.m., she went ahead and she forwarded that to you. Is that right?
Yes.
So you received it there on your work email. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And she told you, "Hi Stacy, we should go at 11:30 a.m. Look who is speaking!" Exclamation point.
Yes.
You can go one further up. And is it true that you replied about 2 minutes later?
Yes.
And it says, OMG.
Sir, the jurors can read. Please don't read stuff that's already in evidence.
Did you in your response indicate LOL?
Yes.
And I'm sure most people know what that is.
Laugh out loud.
And what did you mean by good one?
She was again trying to make a joke, to make light of the situation, trying to make me feel better.
Well, hold on a minute. I was asking what did you mean, not what she meant.
That was a good one. She got me to laugh. She made me feel happy for a few minutes. It was a sarcastic joke. It was tongue-in-cheek.
Now, let's talk about what happened at the workplace after this encounter with Mr. Filner on April 21st, 2013. Isn't it correct that there were no changes to your job or your job position?
Meaning,
You didn't lose salary or benefits or classification or anything along those lines?
no, I did not.
And is it also a fact, correct me if I'm wrong, you told Dr. Dario that no supervisor mistreated you or unreasonably was critical of you?
No. I remember telling him that no, they hadn't, no.
No. I'm going to go now and give you a different binder for a moment.
Okay.
And I'm showing the witness for Exhibit 115. 130, which has not yet been received in evidence. Remember receiving what's been marked as 130, what are called form interrogatories.
Just this one page, it says 1 and number G.
Okay, well, let me break this up. Did you receive a packet of questions, one of them being on page 130-004, a question called 2013?
Questions from you in interrogatory. Yes, it didn't look like this, but yes.
And if you go to page 130-5, you see there's a verification there where you stated that the information was true under penalty of perjury.
Oh, sorry.
130-5.
Yes, I see my signature.
You ever offered this into evidence?
No. Read the question and the answer.
Yes, Your Honor. Do you recall this question? Form interrogatory employment number 201.3. Were there any other adverse employment actions, including discipline or other negative changes, in the terms and conditions of city employment?
There were an awful lot of questions. I think that I remember that.
Okay. And if you go back a couple pages, there's a definition here of what an adverse employment action means. You see that?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall these interrogatory questions that you had? These interrogatories had the definitions of certain terms, one of them being this adverse employment action.
I don't remember, but there's probably a good chance it did.
And that definition would be any termination, suspension, demotion, reprimand, loss of pay, failure or refusal to hire, failure or refusal to promote, or other action or failure to act that adversely affects the employee's rights or interest, and which is alleged in the pleadings.
Yes.
So when you were asked the question about whether you had suffered any adverse employment actions, including discipline or other negative changes, your answer was no. Is that right?
Correct.
And this answer was given under oath.
Yes.
And the date that you signed that was October 2nd, 2014. Look at this on the page 130-5.
130-5. I'm not seeing a date.
See the
Yes, I see it. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sure. Now, Ms. McKenzie, shifting to another topic here, you were aware, were you not, that any type of inappropriate behavior of a sexual nature could be reported to the city's Equal Employment Investigations Office?
Yes.
And you had, during the the long career that you've had for the city, you've had at least 5 different times that the city of San Diego has given you sexual harassment training.
Yes.
And I'm talking about training before you even met Bob Filner.
Yes.
And you knew from your training, did you not, that a supervisor had a duty to report sexual harassment that comes to the supervisor's attention.
Correct.
And part of the training that you took was that under both federal and state law, it is illegal to retaliate against an employee for reporting sexual harassment.
I don't remember that off the top of my head, but I would assume that would be correct.
In that deposition, I'm going to just turn to a certain page to see if that refreshes your recollection.
Here.
Yes. If you could, please, on that page 62 that I just opened for you, look at line 12. And does that refresh your recollection?
Well, it says that I said yes. Doesn't, I still don't remember, but it says so here, yes.
And what date? If you could look on the cover of the deposition transcript, just so we're clear. It says the deposition was April 15, 2015. Is that correct?
That's what it says, yes.
So on April 15, 2015, you said, you acknowledged that you knew from your training that if you reported that under state and federal law that it's illegal to retaliate against an employee.
Yes.
And that deposition, do you remember when you arrived for the deposition with your lawyer that you were placed under oath?
Yes.
And that would be the same type of oath you had here.
Yes.
For the record, I'm now showing the witness for Exhibit 113, which is not yet the receipt of the evidence. 113. Have you had a chance to look at that?
Yes.
And is that an email that you sent on Friday, July 12, 2013 at 11 a.m. to Daniel Veneri, the gentleman that we were talking about earlier, who's also a district manager?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'll offer that into evidence.
Okay. 113 is received.
Ms. Gordon, if we could just publish that to the jury. Do you know who the people are that are depicted in this photograph, in this email that you were sending to Mr. Deneri?
It was 2 of the 3 that had the first press conference on July 12th, and it's Donna Fry, and it's either Corey Briggs or Marco Gonzalez, and I don't know which is which. That's my recollection.
So there was some sort of press conference that led you to send this picture to Mr. Deneri.
Yes.
And I'm more interested in the date than anything else. That date of July 12, 2013. Is this a press conference involving Ms. Fry and this other person that occurred around that time?
I know it was on that date. I'm not certain what time it occurred.
Was it perhaps even July 11th, somewhere in that neighborhood?
No, I believe my belief is their first press conference was Friday, July 12th.
Okay, fair enough. Were you actually watching the press conference?
I wasn't watching it. I believe it was on the radio.
Okay. I want to know whether that press conference came to your attention. Did someone else bring to your attention that there had been this press conference?
No, I think I had heard about it.
Okay, but you didn't actually see it.
I didn't watch it, no.
And before that press conference, would it be fair to say that you had not heard anything about any type of indiscretion that Mr. Filner had with women in San Diego?
Sexual, no.
Did you go and talk to a person by the name of Kathy Ruiz?
Yes, I did.
And who is Kathy Ruiz?
At the time, she was our program manager for program manager for administrative services for the Park and Recreation Department.
And what were her responsibilities at that time?
She helped us with discipline. She helped writing department instructions. She did training on fact findings. She did trainings on other subjects. I'm not exactly certain.
Okay. And why were you going to see her in the first place?
I didn't see her on the 12th.
When
I saw her on July 15th, Monday.
Okay. And why did you go see her on that Monday the 15th?
On July 15th, there was going to be another press conference, but I had an obligation to meet with some of my employees, so I didn't listen to it. And when I was done, Lori Charette, called me and she was distressed and said, Stacy, there's a name for what he did to you. There's a name. It's a headlock. And apparently he's done this to more than one person.
All right. My question, though, is
Oh,
Ms. Charette calls you and says that leads you to talk to Ms. Ruiz?
well, I went downstairs. I don't remember. Downstairs is where the women's restroom is, actually. I was on the 4th floor. Downstairs, I went to the restroom. And I heard some girls talking, and it sounded like they were talking about this press conference, and they actually had the radio on, and they were adjacent from Kathy Ruiz's office.
And did you go to Kathy Ruiz's office?
I went right to Kathy Ruiz's office, yes.
And isn't it true that you told Ms. Ruiz what had happened to you involving Mr. Filner, in that you told her he had placed his arm around you and also stroked with his hand the other arm?
I don't remember everything I said, but I'm sure I said something like that.
And do you remember Ms. Ruiz telling you that this had to be reported.
She said, what I recall is she said this should be reported to EEIO.
And she was talking to you about reporting a sexual harassment complaint, and did you not say to her that you didn't feel harassed or intimidated? It was just creepy.
I was trying to downplay what happened because I still wasn't sure.
But my
Did
question is, did you say that?
I remember saying creepy. I'm pretty sure I said I didn't know if I didn't know if it was sexual harassment. I don't remember if I said I didn't know or I didn't think.
My question is very specific. Did you say to her that you didn't feel harassed or intimidated?
I don't remember that.
Didn't you also say to Ms. Ruiz that you didn't feel angry or scared? He's just a stupid guy.
I remember saying I didn't feel anger or feel fear, as meaning I didn't feel threatened for my life, because at that time I think I was still calling it a chokehold. I'm not sure. That's what I meant.
But did you say those exact words to her? You didn't feel angry or scared. He's just a stupid guy.
I don't remember he's just a stupid guy. I don't remember.
But the first part you remember, that you didn't feel angry or scared?
I think I said that, yes.
And didn't Ms. Reese tell you, well, you may not see this as sexual harassment, but I can't keep this a secret?
I don't remember those words. She may have, and I apologize. 3 years ago, I don't remember. I have a lot of conversations, and I'm not going to guess an answer for you. I don't remember.
All right. Didn't she tell you, see this is something you remember, that you had a duty to report the interaction that took place between you and Mr. Filner?
I'm not remembering that, but I'm going to say I don't know, just because it was so long ago.
Do you at least recall her saying, I'm going to give you time about whether you want to report it, or whether Ms. Ruiz, you wanted her to report it?
I don't remember. I do remember reporting it the next day, but I don't remember what she said.
Do you recall at some point going on a radio show with your lawyer?
Yes, one time we went on a radio show.
And that would be Kogo radio station.
Yes.
And during the radio show, you talked about this case.
Yes.
And thereafter, did you go to Ms. Ruiz and say that you were uncomfortable answering your phones because of what had happened to Mr. Filner?
I don't remember saying that, but I'm not going to say no. I didn't.
Okay. So if Ms. Ruiz were to testify that after you've been on a radio show, she remembers you saying, I'm afraid to answer the phone, you're not in a position to refute that.
Objection argumentative.
Now, you talked a lot about how this impacted you, and did you tell her, I think you said you did tell her it was just creepy. Did you use those words, just creepy?
I used creepy. I don't know if I said just creepy, but I thought, yes, it was creepy. It was very creepy. Creepy means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
After that conversation with Ms. Ruiz, did you talk to a person named Kathleen Hasnauer?
I know at some point I spoke to her. I don't know if she wanted to talk to me or if I wanted to talk to her.
And she was talking to you about your obligation to report, was she not?
The only thing I remember her saying is you would be our hero if you reported, but she may have. I don't recall.
And she, as a supervisor, you were telling her a little bit about what happened, is that right?
Just a little bit. I didn't feel as close to Kathleen as I did to Kathy.
Did you make a statement to her that you were at first flattered that Mr. Filner was paying attention to you?
I don't recall for sure, but I may have stated that, yes.
Now, what was your understanding as to what the Equal Employment Investigations Office, what its purpose was?
That it wasn't tolerated in the workplace, and as far as supervisors and managers, that we had an obligation if it was told to us that anybody had been sexually harassed, regardless if it was our employee or any employee, that we were supposed to tell someone. I don't know if it was EEIO, I'd have to go back and look at it, but that we were supposed to say something.
I'm going to switch to another time. I'm showing the witness for Exhibit 120, which has not been received in evidence. Could you just take a few minutes to look at that to see if you recognize it?
I don't necessarily recognize it, no.
If you look at page 2, is that your signature at the bottom?
Yes, that's my signature.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection that this was an internal discrimination complaint that you signed on July 16, 2013?
Yes, it says that it is. I don't recall it looking like this on the first and second page, but I believe that it is, yes.
And then if you go to the remaining pages, 3, 4, 5, those 3 pages, is that a summary of what happened between you and Mr. Filner in your own writing?
Yes.
And I noticed at the bottom there's a fax notation there. It kind of cuts off a little bit at the bottom. Did you fax this to the Equal Employment Investigations Office? Did you remember?
No, I remember taking it down there because he had said that I could fax, but I didn't want to scan it, and we really don't have access to a fax machine.
And this summary is dated July 16, 2013. Is that right? That's what you wrote?
Yes.
Can I offer this into evidence?
Any objection to 120?
Oh, good.
It is received in that.
Ms. McKenzie, it's a little bit difficult to read your handwriting.
Sorry.
I mean, mine's horrible, but so I'm a first offender, but yours is fine. But I just would like you to, so no one has any problem with it, read for us your summary of the incident that starts on page 3.
Starting at the top.
Yeah, where it says incident colon, and then you start on
Okay.
Sunday.
On Sunday, April 21st, 2013, I attended an event at North Dianza Park. The event, Claremont Days, was scheduled in an area I supervise. I also live in Claremont, and I attend the event with my children, non-work capacity. I saw 2 of my staff, senior ranger and park ranger, at the event. They were on duty and checking the event for permit compliance. They told me the mayor was at the event. I wanted to introduce myself to the mayor as a city employee who manages the Mission Bay Park area. I went up to him and told him my name and that I was a city employee and worked managing Mission Bay Park. There was a boy from a school. He was, and it says paper that wanted to interview him. I met from the paper that wanted to interview for him. He told me, meaning Filner, to wait. I did. When he was done, he walked back over to me and asked me my name, what I did for the city, how long I'd been working for the city, and he thanked me for my service. While talking, he grabbed both my hands and held them. He was also standing really close to me. He then said, "Are you married?" He said, and again, I don't know the order, but when I see a beautiful woman, I always have to go up and talk to her. He asked if I could have lunch with my boss and asked for a business card. I gave my business card.
If you don't mind reading it verbatim as it's written, though.
I'm trying to. I'm putting it up here because I guess I'm having a hard time reading my own writing also. When I see a beautiful woman, I have to go over and talk to her. He asked if I could have lunch with my boss and asked for my business card. I gave it to him. He said it would be a business lunch. It wouldn't be a business lunch, it would be a business date. Then, it would be a business date. Then he said, "I'm asking you out on a date." I didn't answer. I don't recall the ending comments, but knowing I walked away feeling really surprised, shocked and disappointed. He would act that way. His behavior was inappropriate. I walked across the venue and found my staff rangers. Apparently I didn't finish the sentence. All of a sudden, they looked beyond me with a startled look. Before I could turn around, I felt an arm come up around my neck. His other hand was rubbing my arm. I didn't try to move, but I would have not been able to. I was pinned.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me stop you and have you snap that page out of the book, please, because what I've got here is not identical.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time reading it.
Okay, the record will show that according to my following along with the witness, she's missed 2 complete lines so far in her reading of Exhibit 120. Go ahead.
Let me start over.
No, it'll be up to Mr. Sheehan.
If you could try to, as best you can, be verbatim.
I'm trying to. I'm having a problem with my contacts. I'm sorry. Do you want to start at the front of page 004?
You can start where he asked for the business card, I think.
And asked for my business card. I gave it to him. He said it wouldn't be a business lunch, it would be a date. Then he said, I'm asking you out on a date. I didn't answer. I don't recall the ending comments, but don't know. It just says, I walked away feeling really surprised, shocked, and disappointed he would act that way. His behavior was, inappropriate. I walked across the venue and found my staff, quote, Rangers, unquote. I started to tell them what happened. All of a sudden, they looked beyond me. With a startled look, before I could turn around, I felt an arm come up around my neck like a loose headlock, and his other hand was rubbing my arm. I didn't try to move my arm. I didn't try to move, but had I would have not been able to, as I was pinned in with him standing behind me. And I don't recall I don't know what's under that fax line. It says something, Lori and Stephanie, I'm gonna guess. Rangers, look stunned. He said to them, isn't she great? He said, I'm mentoring her, and shouldn't I make her employee of the day? He started laughing and told me I was turning red. I told him he was embarrassing me, and he laughed and walked off.
And then if you could just go to page 120-6 and 7. Did you supplement what you had told Mr. Regional Employment Investigations Office?
Yes, I did. I called Mr. Barclay and I told him I forgot something.
Let me stop you right there. Who is Mr. Barclay?
Harold Barclay is, I believe, the head of the EEIO, Equal Employment Office of Investigation for the City of San Diego. Harold, I forgot to mention something else Filner said. He said, I like to get close to my city employees. Stacy McKenzie.
And you sent that on what date?
July 19th.
And so your original complaint, put everything in sequence here, was dated July 16th, 2013, and then about 3 days later you added that additional fact.
Yes.
Similar question is the questions I had before regarding the investigator. I did not see here anywhere that you mentioned Mr. Filner touching your breast. Did you disagree?
It doesn't state that in here, but he didn't have me write this when I made the complaint. When I made the complaint, they listened intently, they wrote. When I got back to work, he called me up and said, you know what, why don't you go ahead and just write up a statement of what happened.
But if that's correct, why would you not include that very important fact, which is pretty much why we're here today?
I don't know.
You don't know why you wouldn't do that?
No, unless it was just fear, I don't know.
The front page of this complaint, if we could have that published by Ms. Martin. And you could have enlarge the area that talks about the basis of the complaint. Do you see that on your copy, Ms. McKenzie?
What page are we looking at? I'm sorry.
120-1, the first page.
Okay, which,
You see there's a section, basis of the complaint, and it says sexual harassment.
yes,
And you see lower down it says the complaint is filed against Mayor Bob Filner.
yes.
And then below that, you list two witnesses, Ms. Jarrett and Ms. Ferris.
Yes,
So when you were giving the complete rendition to Mr. Barclay, who is the head of the Equal Employment Investigations Office,
yes,
you did understand this was a sexual harassment complaint.
yes, he had me fill this out, I believe, at the office. These 2 pages.
And on page 2, right above your signature line, you see where you certified that the information contained in the complaint was true and correct to the best of your knowledge.
Yes, the information that I verbally told them was true and correct to the best of my knowledge.
Is there any reason you would not have mentioned in here how you felt Mr. Filner had specifically, when he was behind you, he was touching your buttocks?
He may not have asked, I don't know.
When you say he may not have asked, he didn't tell you what to put in here. These are your own words, is that right?
No, but he was asking questions about what happened.
He didn't tell you to leave anything out, did he?
No.
And turn the exhibit line here to exhibit 118. If you could look at exhibit 118, please. This has not been received as evidence. You recognize that as a page from your Facebook page.
Yes.
And that would be on August 22nd, 2013.
Yes.
You see where on this Facebook page, well, I'll put this in evidence, right?
What number is this?
118.
Okay.
Received.
Accept. Is it rejected?
You have the old version.
Yes. No objection.
118 is received.
On August 22nd, 2013, you see there's a post by yourself on your page where you refer to Mr. Filner as a pig.
Yes.
And then on the next page, and the second page, we'll go ahead and put on the screen. On August 18, 2013, I think we're going a little bit backward here, but there's a picture of appears to be a child with a "Please resign, Mayor Filner."
Yes.
Is that something you posted?
Yes.
And that child, I assume, is your child?
Yes.
And then if we'll go to the third page, there is a photograph of two women. Is that you and your twin?
Yes.
Okay. Which one is you?
I'm the one on the left. The one with the orange shorts.
Okay. I think you said one of you was born a minute later.
She's a minute older.
Okay. And is this true that you were donning a Please Resign Mayor Filner t-shirt there?
Yes, it is.
Now I'm showing you page 131 of your deposition, and if you could read from line 3 to page 133, line 7.
Okay. But I was wondering if you were actively...
No, I'm to yourself. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your Honor, may I approach and get Ms. Mackenzie's gavel, please? It's on the counter in front.
I don't know if Mr. Schaefer is going to be asking permission to read from the podium.
I am going to.
Well, then someone tender it to the court so I can
Yes,
take
Your
a
Honor.
look.
May I approach?
Yes, you may. Thank you for asking, Mr.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thanks, sir.
Yes.
May I have the page in mind again?
Your Honor, starting on page 131, line 3 through 133, line 7.
I'm reading to 133, what line?
Line 7, please.
Okay.
Are those accurate responses to the questions that are indicated in the transcript?
Those are accurate on how I answered them, yes.
At your deposition?
At my deposition.
Your Honor, I requested leave to publish this to the jury.
You don't publish it to the jury. If you want to read from the transcript, just ask permission to read from the transcript. I thought we went over this, Mr. Schaefer. In fact, I know we did. I told you how I wanted you to do it, and you're just not doing it the way I asked you. Just give me the page you want to ask permission to read.
I was wanting permission to play the video that goes with this.
Oh, okay. Publish. I thought you meant put the transcript up on the screen. You want to show this?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You may.
Thank you.
This need not be recorded, Madam Recorder.
But I was wondering if you were actively participating in any kind of campaign to have him resign.
Not that I can remember. I know I wanted him to resign, but you mean like passing around petitions
Or
or?
just in any way publicly showing your belief he should resign?
The only thing I can think of is they were passing out T-shirts at, and I think, what did it say? Filner out, or I can't remember what it said. But everyone had it on, so I put it on when I was there and took it off and I threw it away when I got home. I mean, that's all I can remember.
Okay. So none of your friends actually even saw that?
I don't know if they saw it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if news channels were, I don't know, I don't remember. My sister, her husband, and I went.
I see. Did, other than briefly having that T-shirt and then throwing it away, did you do anything else that would signify to others that you were a supporter of Mr. Filner resigning?
No, I don't recall. I don't think so. Everybody was talking about wanting him to resign.
And did anyone else in your family pick up one of those T-shirts and wear it?
I don't remember if Joey had one or if he wore mine. I don't know. I don't recall.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't remember.
Why did you throw it away rather than probably display it and let everyone know that you were for him resigning?
It was huge. It was very large.
What was large?
A T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
It didn't fit, and it wasn't something I would wear at work or around. I just wore it because they handed it to me. It was free. It's like they were handing out, I don't know if they were large men's shirts or something, but I just wore it there because everybody was wearing the shirt, and I really didn't have time to wear it again.
Okay. So you really didn't want to be publicizing the fact that you were for Filner resigning?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
It, you know.
Having heard the video, those are your responses that you gave.
Yes.
Now, if you could please look at the page that's open, the book to the deposition transcript, page 188, and look at lines 8 through 14.
Okay, I read.
And are those responses accurate to the questions that were asked then?
Yes.
Can I display that on the screen?
You may play the excerpt that you just mentioned.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Stand by, please. There's been a alarm summoning our bailiff. I think I told you might happen, remember? So we'll clear that alarm and then we'll proceed. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. Page 188, line 8 to 14.
And then I'm just wondering, we talked about how you have the Facebook account and you have not, I think you said you haven't posted about this, that's correct.
As far as I know, yeah, I don't like to put controversial things, just any political thing, just mostly just family or how are you doing.
Okay.
And those are your responses.
Yes.
That is accurate.
Yes, I'm just thinking at the time I thought you were talking about what actually happened to me.
You remember earlier I was asking you whether you had referred to Mr. Filner as a pig on your Facebook page, and you said
I remember.
Ms. McKenzie, could you, there on page 192, starting at line 24, read that passage all the way to the next page, 193 to line 4.
Okay, I read it.
I'd like to play that passage.
Permission granted.